Operation Mincemeat, the body that fooled Hitler. At the bottom of the sea, one body carried the weight of an invasion. No gun, no radio, no backup, just paper. And the risk that one small mistake could cost tens of thousands of lives. Spring, 1943. The Allies are preparing their next major move in Europe. They need to break into southern Europe, but Germany is watching every coastline. If the enemy guesses the wrong landing point, the invasion survives. If they guess correctly, it becomes a massacre. So British intelligence makes a decision that sounds unthinkable. They will lie to Hitler using a dead man. Picture the Mediterranean like a narrow hallway. At one end, North Africa, recently secured by Allied forces. At the other, mainland Europe, still firmly under Axis control. Between them sits Sicily, the largest island in the Mediterranean. It controls shipping lanes, airfields, supply routes. Almost everyone assumes the Allies will land there next, including the Germans. That's the problem. If Sicily is reinforced, the invasion fails before it begins. So Allied planners need Germany to move troops away from Sicily without suspecting a trick. And that means deception at a scale never attempted before. The plan that sounds impossible. British intelligence had used deception before: fake tanks, false radio traffic, dummy units. But this time, they needed something stronger, something the enemy would believe without question. The idea. Germany trusts documents more than rumors. And documents found on a dead officer, those are gold. The plan was simple and terrifying. Create a fictional British officer. Give him authentic-looking invasion plans. Then let German intelligence discover his body. But then came the first problem. They needed a corpse, one that wouldn't raise questions. If you were planning this, would you trust a single body with an invasion? Finding the body. The body had to meet strict conditions. No obvious trauma, no signs of execution. A cause of death that made sense for a plane crash at sea. Eventually, British officials located a deceased man whose identity could not be publicly claimed. Reports differ on how much was known about his personal background at the time. What is confirmed? The body showed signs consistent with drowning. He would become Major William Martin, Royal Marines, a man who never existed. From that point on, everything had to be perfect. Building a man who never lived. Major Martin wasn't just given documents. He was given a life. Letters from a fiancée, personal receipts, keys, even small, forgettable clutter, the kind real people carry without thinking. Because German intelligence didn't just read documents, they evaluated behavior. Would this officer make sense? Would his habits feel real? One mistake, one wrong detail, could expose the entire deception. Myth versus reality. Myth. The Germans were careless. Reality. German intelligence was skeptical, methodical, and trained to detect planted evidence. The papers that matter. The documents themselves were subtle. No dramatic invasion order. No clear landing map. Instead, private correspondence between senior officers, casually referencing plans to attack Greece and Sardinia. Sicily, barely mentioned. The goal wasn't to shout a lie. It was to whisper it, and that made it dangerous. If the documents were too obvious, the Germans would suspect a trap. If they were too vague, they'd be ignored. Everything balanced on tone. Pause and think. Would you trust intelligence found by accident, or doubt it because it's too perfect? The drop. The body was released into the sea off the coast of Spain. Not neutral in practice, Spain's intelligence services quietly cooperated with Germany. This was intentional. The British needed the Germans to receive the documents through a chain that felt organic. But once the body entered the water, control was gone. If the papers drifted away, if local authorities buried the body immediately, if the documents were damaged, the deception would fail silently. At this moment, would you feel confident or terrified? German intelligence takes the bait. The body was recovered. The documents were quietly examined. German analysts didn't rush. They tested ink, paper, seals, context. And here's the critical moment. They found no obvious errors. Even small details like how letters were folded matched real British habits. Eventually, the information reached the highest levels of German command, including Adolf Hitler himself. The consequences: troops reinforced Greece. defenses strengthened in Sardinia. Sicily was left comparatively vulnerable. This wasn't guesswork. Post-war German records confirm the deception worked. Hitler believed Sicily was a diversion, and that belief shaped everything that followed. Myth versus reality. Myth. Operation Mincemeat guaranteed victory. Reality. It reduced resistance, but the invasion was still brutal and costly. The invasion of Sicily. In July 1943, Allied forces landed in Sicily. They faced resistance, but not the overwhelming defense planners feared. The deception didn't eliminate danger. It changed probabilities. And in war, probability is everything. Thousands of lives were likely saved, though exact numbers remain debated. The man who never existed, Major William Martin, was buried with full military honors. His gravestone carried the name of a fictional officer. For decades, the truth remained classified. When it was finally revealed, it forced historians to reconsider the nature of warfare. Not strength, not firepower, but belief. Is deception a weapon or a moral risk? Lessons and legacy. Operation Mincemeat proved something unsettling. The most powerful weapon in war might be information. A carefully planted idea can move divisions, change strategies, alter history. Modern intelligence operations still follow this principle, though the battlefield has shifted from paper to pixels. Myth versus reality. Myth. This kind of deception can't work today. Reality. Digital misinformation now moves faster and reaches further. Outcome. Impact. Modern relevance. Outcome. Sicily fell. Italy eventually exited the war. Impact. Operation Mincemeat became one of the most successful intelligence deceptions in history. Lesson. Truth doesn't always win by being loud. Sometimes it wins by being believable. And today, in an age of leaked documents, misinformation, and digital warfare, the questions raised by Operation Mincemeat matter more than ever. Was this operation brilliant or dangerously close to crossing a line?